Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Outside in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, friends. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Outside. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request you friends to watch this video till the ends. So let's start the video. Outside is a Philippine post-apocalyptic drama horror film written and directed by Carlo Ledesma. It stars Sid Lucero, Beauty Gonzalez, Marco Masa, and Aiden Pat Du. The film tells the story of a family trying to outrun a zombie outbreak by returning to the father's childhood farmhouse. Plot: the Abel family, composed of Francis, his wife Iris, and their sons Joshua and Lucas, flee a zombie outbreak in the city. Arriving at Francis's parents' mansion on a sugarcane plantation, Francis finds his father and a servant having committed suicide after being infected, and his mother reanimated as a zombie. After killing his mother, Francis and his family settle in the house. It is later revealed that Francis is traumatized at being locked up in the basement as a child by his father. At the same time, his marriage to Iris is in trouble after he discovers that Iris has been unfaithful to him and that his elder brother Diego is Joshua's biological father. Days later, Iris convinces Francis to find another sanctuary, but they are forced to turn back and abandon their van at a zombie-infested checkpoint. Francis leaves his family at the mansion and goes back to retrieve the van, but instead ends up with fuel for the mansion's generator. Joshua learns of a safe zone over the radio and tries to convince Francis to investigate, only for the latter to taunt him and instead teach him how to fire a gun. However, the gunshots attract a horde of zombies which besiege the family inside the house until Diego arrives and lures them away with his vehicle. The next day, the brothers try to reconcile, but Francis, who harbors resentment against Diego due to him being favored by their parents and his affair with Iris, rejects his offer to guide them to the safe zone and drives him away at gunpoint. Diego leaves Francis a map leading to the safe zone should he change his mind. After Francis overhears Iris deducing that the zombies are weakening and dying off over time, he stages being attacked by multiple zombies outside and barricades the mansion while locking his family inside and spiraling further into paranoia. Joshua eventually finds Diego's map and confronts Francis over dinner, leading to Iris finally admitting that she wants to leave him and Francis acknowledging that Joshua is not his son. Francis produces the map but burns it in front of Iris, who storms off. Later that night, a wounded soldier seeks shelter at the mansion and confirms that there are now less zombies outside. He adds that he was guided to the mansion by Diego, who was killed by the zombies. The next day, Joshua, fed up with his father's actions, leaves the mansion. Upon discovering this, Francis goes berserk, kills the soldier with a hammer, and locks Iris and Lucas in the basement. That night, Lucas feigns getting sick in order to gain Francis's attention. Iris then stabs Francis and locks him in the basement while taking Lucas for their escape. Francis tries to follow but becomes immobilized by flashbacks of his father locking him up. As Iris and Lucas open the main door, they are chased back inside by a reanimated Diego, who bites Lucas. Francis, hearing his family's screams, recovers his sanity and escapes the basement. Francis kills Diego, but collapses into a stupor upon seeing Lucas being bitten, leaving Iris alone to amputate his infected limb. Francis then returns to the checkpoint to retrieve their van, but is shot by a nervous Joshua, who mistakes Francis for a zombie due to the latter's stuttering and bloodied appearance. As Joshua begs for forgiveness, Francis acknowledges him as his son and dies, leaving Joshua to drive the van and rescue his mother and brother. Cast Sid Lucero as Francis, Beauty Gonzalez as Iris, Marco Masa as Joshua, Aiden Pat Du as Lucas, Joel Torre as Arturo, James Blanco as Diego Chong D as a soldier, Bing Pimentel as Francis's mother. Production: Carlo Ledesma cited family dramas and post-apocalyptic films such as The Day After and the Mad Max franchise as his inspiration for the film. Beauty Gonzalez and Sid Lucero were confirmed to be part of the film in a press statement on a streaming platform on October 11, 2023. While Outside overtly tackles a zombie apocalypse, the production theme intended to incorporate mental health as a theme. Among these is generational trauma. Principal photography was held in La Carlota and Cabancalan, Negros Occidental, the home province of Ledesma, Gonzalez, and Lucero. A Filipino-style mansion and a sugarcane farm were specific shooting locations. The film is 142 minutes long and was billeted by Netflix as its first original zombie film set in the Philippines. Filming lasted around a month and was hampered by weather conditions. The zombies were portrayed by residents of the province in makeup. The zombies are capable of speech, with the director intentionally not wanting them to be portrayed as mindless monsters. Release. The film was initially set to release worldwide in Netflix originally on October 11, 2024, but was moved to October 17, 2024. Reception. The film received a score of 72/100 from 10 reviews according to review aggregator website Criticultura, indicating a generally positive reviews. Film critic Fred Hawson gave the film a 7 out of 10 rating and praised the film's cinematography and Lucero and Gonzalez acting, while criticizing parts of the dialogue for being dragging. Pramit Chatterjee of Digital Mafia Talkies gave the film a rating of 4 out of 5 and praised Ledesma for striking fear into the hearts of bad parents by showing that if this cycle of mistreatment isn't put to an end, its repercussions can be deadlier than a zombie bite. Giving a rating of 3.5/5, Archie Sengupta praised the film and described it as a zombie horror psychological horror that gets most of its horrifying notes right and leaves you feeling oddly emotional in the end. Michael Duffy Duffield, Frank Grillo, King of Killers, One Day as a Lion, was a soldier. Now he's a drifter, dealing with PTSD and living on the move. As Lights Out begins, he gets off a bus, and it's not even 5 minutes before he finds himself in a card game and accused of cheating. The ease with which he dispatches the other players and takes his money catches the eye of Max Bomer, Mekhi Phifer, Divergent, truth be told. Max is just out of jail and looking for a way to make some money, and he sees Duffy's skill with his fists as the way to do it. He just has to convince him to take part in some illegal underground fight clubs like the one run by Fosco. Amaury Nolasco, Armored, A Good Day to Die Hard. And since Duffy could use some cash himself, it isn't too hard to convince him. Before he went to jail, Max owed a rather large sum of money to a guy named Sage, Dermot Mulroney, the inhabitant, Breakwater, and he wants to be paid, plus interest. We know Sage is bad news, and we also know he's partnered with some crooked cops, including Detective Ridgway, Jamie King, The Resurrection of Charles Manson, My Bloody Valentine, and her partner Detective Kincaid, Paul Sloan, Pay Dirt, every last one of them. Outside on Netflix is a new zombie movie from the Philippines. However, if you've watched other movies from this country, you'll know that a lot of English is spoken. In other words, you'll be able to keep up just fine, even without the dubbing option. Other Filipino movies on Netflix. Be sure to check out Eerie, 2018, which became almost infamous upon release. With a runtime of 2 hours and 22 minutes, I was afraid it would run on for far too long. And yes, I do feel that it's longer than what would be best for the story. However, it isn't by much thanks to the many twists in this story, most of which evolve in ever more desperate ways. Continue reading our Outside movie review below. Find it on Netflix from October 17, 2024. Outrunning a Zombie Outbreak. In Outside, we meet a family trying to outrun a zombie outbreak by returning to the childhood home of the patriarch. The family consists of husband Francis, Sid Lucero, wife Iris, Beauty Gonzalez, and their 2 sons, Josh, Marco Masa, and Lucas, Aiden Tyler Pat-Dew. The relationship between Francis and Iris is clearly strained, and the impending zombie apocalypse isn't helping matters, especially as they don't even seem to agree on how to react to it or where it could be safest for their little family. While the house is big and in a remote area, Francis did not have a good childhood there. We see in flashbacks how he was mistreated by his brutal father, who punished him to turn him into a real man. All Francis wants for himself and his family is a sense of normalcy. Of course, this is nearly impossible in the middle of a zombie outbreak. Unfortunately for them all, he is becoming increasingly unstable as the stress of the situation wears him out. A universal story. I loved how the story of Outside could play out anywhere in the world. Sure, we're in the Philippines, and the weather is extremely hot. Other than that, we could just as well have been in the Midwest or rural England. In that sense, there's nothing that should keep you from getting completely immersed. And with this zombie horror drama, the story does pull you in and make you suffer right alongside the characters. At times, it feels like a zombie horror drama in the vein of Handling the Undead. However, it does also pick up the pace quite a lot, as the family does get confronted with many zombies in various situations throughout the story. A new kind of zombie in Outside. Something I loved about the zombies in Outside was that they had a new trait. Oh yeah, in this movie, the zombies can speak but only say whatever their last words were over and over again. For one, it's simply the word sorry, while for another, it's passport please. It's a small detail, but one that becomes terrifying when a new creature with black eyes approaches you, repeating their final words or singular word non-stop. Maybe it doesn't sound all that intriguing, but it really is, especially if the person speaking to you, or at you, is someone you knew before they turned. Watch the zombie movie Outside on Netflix. The director of the new Netflix zombie movie is Carlo Ledesma, who also wrote the screenplay. He has stated that Outside is more than just a zombie film, and I couldn't agree more. He also labels it as a terrifying psychological thriller, which I can get behind. Drama is also a key element. Then again, when isn't drama an element in movies? The horror breakthrough for Carlo Ledesma came more than a decade ago. In 2011, his found-footage feature film debut The Tunnel was a hit. He even did an episode of Bite Size Halloween, so his international adventure has also begun. Outside is his most personal project to date and draws on his personal experiences growing up in Negros, paired with the feeling of isolation during the pandemic. I recommend avoiding all spoilers for this movie to get the optimal experience, so check it out as soon as possible. Carlo Ledesma's Outside offers an interesting take on the zombie apocalypse genre by turning its lens inward, trading blood-soaked thrills for emotional dissection and psychological tension. With an impressive cast led by Sid Lucero, in what for this critic's opinion is among the actor's best performances in recent memory, the film uses the zombie outbreak as a backdrop for a tense psychological drama about paranoia, mental health, generational trauma, and fatherhood. By focusing not on the chaos of the zombie outbreak but on the emotional unraveling of a family on the brink, Ledesma crafts a story that places emotional conflict front and center, making a family dinner table just as perilous as any encounter with the undead. And although it may not hit every note perfectly, Outside dares to explore deeper emotional terrain, evoking the atmosphere of Jeff Nichols' Take Shelter and the familial stakes of John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. A family in crisis amidst a zombie apocalypse. At the heart of Outside is Francis Abel Lucero, a man weighed down by trauma and unresolved issues from his childhood. As zombies overrun the cities, Francis flees to the countryside with his family, wife Iris, Beauty Gonzalez, and their two sons, Joshua, Marco Masa, and Lucas, Aiden Tyler Pat Dew, to seek refuge in his late father's remote estate. Almost immediately, Francis must kill his zombified mother, Bing Pimentel, after she attacks him, setting the tone for the emotional toll the family is about to endure. The mansion, which initially seems like a sanctuary, soon becomes a pressure cooker, exposing old wounds and deepening fissures in the family's relationships. As the world around them descends into chaos, the wounds and fissures of Francis's past resurface with the arrival of his older brother, Diego James Blanco, the so-called golden boy of the family with whom Iris might have had a history. It doesn't help that Iris finds herself at an impasse, navigating the emotional minefield of her failing marriage while trying to protect her children, not only from the evils outside, but also from the dangers within the confines of their refuge. A focused, zombified lens on generational trauma. Adding to the tension are the painful memories of Francis's abusive upbringing that their predicament dredges up. Through flashbacks and tense conversations, we learn that Francis was subjected to brutal punishments as a child, locked in the basement by his father, Joel Torre, for hours on end. These traumas resurface as Francis finds himself back in the home he tried to escape, compounding his paranoia and fear of betrayal. Amidst the mounting tension, Francis struggles to connect with his oldest son, Joshua Marco Masa, with the boy increasingly becoming the scapegoat for Francis's insecurities and frustrations. Without needing to spell out the underlying issues, the film subtly suggests that Joshua bears the brunt of his father's emotional unraveling. Here's where Ledesma's direction excels, deftly framing Francis and Joshua's relationship as a meditation on generational trauma. Will Francis, scarred by his own father's cruelty, end up perpetuating the same cycle of abuse with Joshua? Lucero's performance shines here, portraying Francis as a man torn between his desire to protect his family and his inability to escape the damage of his own past. This fraught dynamic between Francis and his family becomes Outside's emotional core. As zombies close in on them from the outside, it becomes clear that the real danger lies within. The simmering fears and unresolved hurts that threaten to tear the family apart from the inside. Tension at the dinner table, where horror truly lies. Outside builds much of its tension around quiet moments, particularly scenes set around the dining table, where emotional confrontations unfold. As Ledesma aimed to capture, these domestic interactions carry the weight of the story's true horror. It is here, over quiet meals and terse conversations, that Francis's fears of betrayal, abandonment, and inadequacy begin to boil over, threatening to destroy the fragile threads that hold the family together. At this point, the zombies outside serve both as backdrop and catalyst, exacerbating conflicts that have been simmering beneath the surface for years. It is in these moments that the film, for me, evokes the spirit of Take Shelter. Just as Nichols's protagonist, Curtis, becomes obsessed with visions of an apocalyptic storm, Francis is consumed by an internal storm of distrust and resentment. Both men try desperately to protect their families, but risk becoming their own family's undoing in the process. In both films, the lines between protection and control blur, leaving the audience unsure whether the real threat lies in the external world or within the protagonist's mind. The film also brings to mind A Quiet Place in its exploration of survival and fatherhood. Much like Krasinski's character in the film, Francis is driven by a desire to protect his family at all costs, but his need for control becomes suffocating. The film then raises unsettling questions. When does protection become harmful? And how do unresolved traumas shape our relationships, especially during times of crisis? A divisive film for local audiences. Notwithstanding the film's strengths, Outside has received mixed reactions, especially from Filipino audiences who expected more zombie action and less family drama. And while I would vehemently disagree, I understand this perspective. By marketing the film as a homegrown zombie movie, a rarity in Philippine cinema, the studio, in this case Netflix, gives a false impression that this would be a straightforward genre film. As a result, viewers might feel cheated out of the adrenaline-inducing experience typically associated with the genre. Moreover, at 141 minutes, the film's slow pace has also drawn criticism, and deservedly so. For all their good intentions, the filmmakers appeared to deliberate too much with their approach. Consequently, the narrative drags through repetitive arguments, leaving some audiences still searching for the zombie action that rarely, if ever, materializes. For what it's worth, the film's reception highlights an interesting tension in Philippine cinema. There has long been a desire among local audiences for high-quality, homegrown genre films, especially in the zombie subgenre, which has thrived in neighboring countries like South Korea and Japan. Outside attempts to fill that gap, showing that Philippine filmmakers are capable of delivering thoughtful, well-crafted works while retaining the traditional sensibilities. So if the film's emphasis on emotional drama over spectacle might not resonate with everyone, it's a valid bone to pick. Despite all these, I found myself gravitating toward the film's message. For one, acknowledging that Ledesma isn't trying to make a conventional zombie movie helps reframe the entire story. Suddenly, Outside stops becoming a zombie film, and instead plays out as a psychological horror rich in emotional complexity, in tackling mental health, domestic abuse, and generational trauma. This for me sets Outside apart, even if it doesn't fully meet the expectations of a genre-hungry audience. This zombie horror film, and sometimes human beings with all of their traumas, can be dangerous and deadly. Outside is enjoyable and makes you think, but its extremely long runtime does catch up after a while. However, several intriguing aspects in the film are surprisingly unique. especially for a movie set against a zombie outbreak, and regardless of the long runtime, this one's thoroughly enjoyable. This film directed by Carlo Ledesma, written by Carlo Ledesma, starring Zidero, Beauty Gonzalez, Maros, Aiden, Tyler, Patu, production company Black Cat Pictures, distributed by Netflix, release date October 17, 2024. Running time 142 minutes, country Philippines, language Filipino. So guys, this is their view of Outside movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.